Hello, and welcome to our exploration, where we unravel fascinating stories and extract surprising insights from the information you've shared with us. I'm Amy, your guide on this journey.
And I'm Tom, here to connect the dots and explore the broader context of today's subject.
Today, we're diving into the incredibly rich, often, contradictory and undeniably impactful life of a true 20th century icon, Walter Elias Disney. You've given us a fantastic collection of sources, everything from official archives to biographical deep dives, and even, a look at some of the persistent myths that kind of swirl around his name.
Yeah, and our mission today isn't just about reciting facts, right? We want to sift through these details to understand not just what Walt Disney did, but maybe get a sense of who he was.
Mm,
Peel back the layers behind that smiling friend of children and animals image and grasp how his own complexities really shaped an empire that still profoundly impacts our world.
definitely. Prepare for some true aha moments, things that might just reframe how you see this visionary. Okay, so let's unpack those beginnings. Walt Disney, born in Chicago, 1901, one of five kids. But it seems like his formative years were really on that farm in Marceline, Missouri. That's where things really clicked for him, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
His interest in drawing sparked incredibly early. Selling sketches to neighbors by age 7. That's
Yeah,
something
it
else.
really is. And it's striking how those early years, things like the intense discipline of delivering newspapers at 3:30 a.m. with his brother Roy in Kansas City, or even that very personal desire for a grand fairy tale castle he couldn't get into. These weren't just like childhood moments. They seemed like direct blueprints.
Blueprints. How so?
Well, they instilled this unique blend, didn't they? Gritty pragmatism on one hand from the hard work, and then this boundless imagination. And you see that manifest later, specifically in Disneyland, a
Yeah.
place designed to make those kinds of inaccessible dreams tangible for millions. It's a pretty remarkable thread running through his life.
That blend of practicality and idealism. Yeah, you see it again during the war. He was just 16.
16.
And he lied about his age to join the Red Cross, ended up driving an ambulance in France for almost a year. But what's really telling about him, even then, is that he covered his ambulance in drawings and cartoons.
Yeah.
He even got some published in the Army newspaper Stars and Stripes. That artistic drive, it was just already there, undeniable.
It really was. And speaking of those early influences, the sources bring up something pretty impactful, maybe even traumatic, from his childhood.
Oh,
The accidental killing of an owl. Some biographers connect this directly to, well, the recurring themes of animal death, or at least danger, in his later films.
hmm.
Apparently, Walt himself said something like, "It seems that after that owl, I developed a fondness for animals," which is
Oh.
interesting.
That raises a big question, doesn't it? Do you think that kind of personal trauma really influenced his art so directly, or is that maybe, biographers reading into things a bit?
It's hard to say for sure. The sources suggest he did develop this profound empathy for animals afterwards, maybe as his way of processing it.
Hmm.
So it does underscore how deeply his personal experiences seem to filter into the stories he created, even if subtly.
Right. So after the war, he heads back to Kansas City, starts as an advertising cartoonist, and that's where he meets Iwerks, right? The animator.
That's the one, a key figure.
Their first business together, Iwerks Disney commercial artists, lasted, what, a month?
Rarely. Yeah, failed almost immediately. But, and this is key, Walt wasn't deterred.
No, he definitely wasn't. He then started Laugh-O-Gram Studio, made those early Alice's Wonderland shorts, and went bankrupt again in 1923.
This pattern, you see it again and again,
Yeah.
failure, followed by this relentless persistence. It's kind of his signature move.
Absolutely. And that led him to Hollywood, July 1923, gets off the train with just $40 and some drawing materials.
Imagine that. And his brother Roy, who was already in California recovering from TB, they pooled their resources, started what became Disney Brothers Studio literally in their uncle's garage.
It's just wild to think about those humble beginnings, knowing what came later.
It really is. Yeah. And they did find some initial success with those Alice comedies, mixing live action and animation. It proved the concept could work.
Mm.
But then came a twist, a big one.
Yeah.
Almost derailed everything.
Right, because after those early struggles, this next phase is where things really start to take off, but also where he faces this huge setback. They created Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. He got pretty popular fast.
He did. Things were looking up.
But then, the betrayal. Their distributor, this guy Charles Mintz, secretly goes behind Walt's back, steals the rights to Oswald.
And not just Oswald. He also poached most of their animators. Just lured them away.
It happened when Walt went to ask for more money, right? And
Yeah.
Mintz basically said, no, I'm cutting your fee. And by
Yeah.
the way, I own your character and your staff. Devastating.
Utterly crushing. They were left with pretty much just oh by works.
But connecting this to the bigger picture, like you said, it was that profound sense of betrayal that became this weird catalyst.
Exactly. It spurred Walt and Ubba Works, basically out of necessity and maybe some spite, to create Mickey Mouse in 1928.
And the name. Walt originally wanted Mortimer.
Mortimer Mouse, yeah. Sounds a bit stuffy, doesn't it? It was his wife, Lillian, who apparently said, no, Mortimer sounds too pompous. How about Mickey?
Good call, Lillian.
Definitely. And here's another amazing detail. Walt himself was the voice of Mickey Mouse until 1947. He literally gave the character his voice, his personality.
That's incredible. So Mickey's debut, Plain Crazy, it was silent initially,
Yep, silent. And they couldn't find a distributor. Looked like maybe another dead end.
but Walt, always the innovator, saw what was happening with sound in movies. Al Jolson in The Jazz Singer had just happened.
Right. He realized synchronized sound was the future. So he took their third Mickey short, Steamboat Willie, and poured everything into adding that synchronized soundtrack.
Making it the world's first fully synchronized sound cartoon. It premiered November 18th, 1928.
And it was an absolute sensation. Overnight, Mickey was a global star.
It wasn't just sound effects, though, was it?
No, not at all. That's the genius of it. Disney integrated music and sound effects as leading elements. They created gags. They created rhythm.
Yeah.
The sound was woven into the animation itself.
Think about the way characters move, the way things bounce. It's all timed to the music and sounds.
No, precisely. It redefined what animation could be.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a technical step. It was a massive creative leap. And it absolutely secured the company's future.
And from that breakthrough, the creativity just exploded. They launched the Silly Symphonies.
Over 70 musical shorts. These weren't just about recurring characters. They were experiments in mood, music, and storytelling.
And they introduced some icons along the way. Pluto in 1930, Goofy in 32, Donald Duck in 34.
And color. In 1932, Flowers and Trees became the first cartoon released in full, glorious Technicolor.
And it won Walt his first Personal Academy Award, first of many.
A record 32 personal Oscars eventually. Just staggering.
His drive to perfect the art just kept pushing things forward. That led to the multiplane camera, right?
Ah, yes. First really showcased in The Old Mill in 1937, which also won an Oscar. It was revolutionary.
Can you explain that a bit? How did it work?
Imagine layers of artwork. You've got your character in the foreground, maybe a tree in the midground, mountains way in the back, all painted on separate sheets of glass. Disney's team could then move these layers independently at different speeds while the camera filmed down through them.
Creating this incredible illusion of depth, almost three-dimensional.
Exactly. It immersed the viewer in the scene like never before. Totally groundbreaking for animation.
And all this innovation, this success, it was building towards what many people at the time called Disney's Folly.
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, his first feature-length animated film.
Produced for nearly $1.5 million.
Which was an absolutely astronomical sum back then, especially during the Great Depression. Everyone thought he was crazy. His own brother, Roy, Lillian, they begged him not to do it.
But he persisted. It premiered in December 1937.
To massive critical acclaim. And it became one of the biggest hits in motion picture history up to that point. Set world records at the box office. It wasn't folly. It was a triumph.
That success was just incredible. The studio ballooned to over 1,000 employees. They built the new Burbank studio complex in 1940.
It seemed like they were on top of the world.
But this era of huge creative success also brought out, or maybe exposed, the complexities of Walt Disney the man. It wasn't all fairy tales behind the scenes.
No, definitely not. And the sources really dig into this. There were deep personal wounds.
Like in 1938, his mother died tragically in a new house he'd bought for his parents, apparently due to a faulty furnace, a gas leak.
Awful. And that deeply affected Walt. Some biographers suggest it influenced the frequent absence or death of mothers in later Disney films.
Right. They say he never really talked about it, but might have carried a lot of guilt.
And it highlights that contrast, doesn't it? The public image, the smiling friend of children, versus the reality of a demanding, sometimes autocratic leader that some employees described.
Yeah. The sources mention him being called a complex character, even a tyrant by some. Plus, his lifelong heavy smoking, rumors of an affair. It clashed with that very chaste public image he cultivated.
That tension really came to a head in 1941 with the animator strike.
which was a huge personal blow to Walt. He saw himself as this kind of benevolent father figure to his staff. He couldn't understand why they'd strike against him.
But the grievances were real. Things like paying the in-betweeners, the less senior animators, doing rough work way below the national average, like $12 a week versus maybe $15 elsewhere.
And Walt's attitude was apparently, well, dismissive, believing anyone could come in their place.
It culminated when he fired a senior animator, Art Babbitt, for union activities. Nearly half the art department walked out. Picket lines went up right outside the studio.
And Walt's reaction is really telling, isn't it?
Extremely. He framed it immediately as communistic agitation. He refused to negotiate directly for a long time.
And then he essentially fled, took off on a government-sponsored goodwill tour to South America, partly, as he said, to get away from this terrible nightmare.
It shows how personally he took it. And later, during the Red Scare, he actively named names to HUA, the House Un-American Activities Committee.
Including that former animator David Silverman, who is Jewish, descendant of Russian immigrants. Walt accused him of being a communist.
Provided evidence, apparently, which led to Silverman being forced to leave the U.S. for several years. It shows a vindictive side, perhaps, or just how deeply held his anti-communist views were, fueled by the strike.
And these incidents, combined with some things he reportedly said or policies he had, they've definitely led to accusations of sexism and anti-Semitism over the years.
For sure. The sexism charge often points to that pre-war policy of explicitly not hiring women as animators.
Right. The official line was they believed women lacked humor and drawing skills, or they worried they'd just get pregnant and quit. Women were mostly confined to the ink and paint department technical, not creative roles.
And he supposedly joked once that he preferred Mickey Mouse to any woman, which, doesn't help.
No. And then there's the anti-Semitism accusation, which is maybe even more complex.
It is, because the evidence seems contradictory. On one hand, you have his actions during the strike, targeting Silverman. Some point to certain character depictions in early shorts as problematic stereotypes, though that was common in cartoons of the era, sadly.
But then you have other evidence presented in the sources that pushes back hard against that label.
Right. Like the B'nai B'rith, a major Jewish service organization honoring him as Man of the Year in 1955. They explicitly stated they investigated and found no evidence of anti-Semitism.
And he employed many prominent Jewish people in key creative roles. People like production manager Harry Title, storyman Joe Grant. They defended him, saying there was just no evidence of it in their experience.
There's that story from songwriter Robert Sherman, too, recalling Walt vehemently defending him and his brother, who were Jewish, against anti-Semitic remarks from a lawyer.
And then firing the lawyer on the spot.
Exactly. Plus, you have Floyd Norman, the studio's first black animator, saying Walt's treatment of everyone was exemplary.
And Walt personally championed James Baskett, the black actor who played Uncle Remus in Song of the South, fought for him to get an honorary Oscar, which he did, and supported him financially.
So, how do you square all that? Accusations of tyranny and prejudice on one side, acts of loyalty and support on the other, public image versus private actions. It's complicated.
It really is. It paints a picture of a man who was maybe full of contradictions.
Yeah.
Capable of immense vision and generosity, but also deep-seated prejudices or personal flaws. And people experienced him very differently.
Perhaps the key is not to simplify him into just one thing, hero or villain.
Agreed. And despite these internal conflicts, the financial ups and downs, Walt kept pushing forward, kept innovating. By the 1950s, his focus started to shift again.
Away from the day-to-day grind of animation production.
Towards a completely new, audacious dream, Disneyland.
He didn't just want an amusement park. He envisioned something different. A clean, safe, immersive place where families, parents, and kids could have fun together. Inspired partly by places like Tivoli Gardens in Denmark.
But the skepticism was immense. He faced, over 300 rejections from potential investors?
302, apparently.
Oh.
Even his own brother Roy, the financial pragmatist, thought it was a terrible idea. Too risky, wouldn't pay off.
But Walt, being Walt, wouldn't let it go. He poured his own money into it, even took out loans against his life insurance, formed a separate company, WED Enterprises, to develop it.
And Disneyland opened in Anaheim, California, July 17, 1955. Opening day itself was famously chaotic. Black Sunday, they called it.
Yeah, counterfeit tickets, overcrowding, asphalt melting.
But despite that rough start, within 6 months, it had welcomed its 1 millionth visitor. It defied all the doubters. It was a phenomenon.
And you hear that story about his private apartment above the fire station on Main Street, USA.
Yeah, with the lamp always left on in the window when he was there, a signal he was home.
And they say they keep a light on there today, in his memory. A symbol of his enduring presence in the park he built.
It's a nice touch.
Yeah.
And he didn't stop there. He became a true pioneer in television, too.
The magical world of Disney, later called the Wonderful World of Disney. It wasn't just promoting his films in park, it was groundbreaking TV in its own right. Became one of the first shows to broadcast in full color in 1961.
And the Mickey Mouse Club.
Yeah.
Variety show just for kids. It created a direct connection between Disney characters and generations of young viewers. Hugely influential.
And back in film, Mary Poppins in 1964, that was a project he chased for 20 years, trying to convince the author, P.L. Travers.
A huge struggle, famously dramatized in the movie Saving Mr. Banks. But it became his last major personal triumph in filmmaking. Won 5 Oscars.
But perhaps his most ambitious dream, the one that really shows the scale of his thinking at the end, was EPCT.
Yeah, the Experiment Prototype Community of Tomorrow. This wasn't just another theme park idea, not initially.
No, he bought this enormous tract of land in Florida, 43 square miles, they say, twice the size of Manhattan.
And his vision was for a real, living city, a showcase for American industry and innovation, a community that, in his words, will never be completed, but will always be introducing and testing new materials and systems.
He envisioned this perfectly planned utopia, free of poverty and crime, with futuristic transportation. It was an incredibly bold urban planning experiment.
Almost sci-fi in its ambition.
Tragically, though, he never saw it built. Walt Disney, a heavy smoker his whole adult life.
Yeah, he was diagnosed with lung cancer in November 1966. It progressed rapidly.
He died of circulatory collapse just a few weeks later on December 15th, 1966. He was only 65.
And with his death, the original vision for EPCOT as a living city died too, really. His brother Roy admirably postponed his own retirement to oversee the building of the Florida project.
He insisted it be called Walt Disney World in his brother's honor. It opened in 1971. Epcot Center eventually opened in 1982, but is something quite different from Walt's initial concept.
More of a permanent World's Fair, focusing on technology and world cultures, than the functioning community he dreamed of.
Still, his legacy is just immense, isn't it? Animation, theme parks, television. He touched so many areas of entertainment and culture.
Absolutely. Those record 22 competitive Oscars, 59 nominations in total, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He produced 111 films, oversaw almost 600 film works in his career.
His determination to bring joy, to communicate universally through his art, it's undeniable. He's consistently ranked as one of the most influential cultural figures of the 20th century.
He really was this dreamer who wanted to change the world, or at least change how we experience it.
You see it in his quotes, like, "I don't make pictures just to make money. I make money to make more pictures." That reflects the artistic drive.
But then he also said, "I don't care about critics. It's the public I'm making pictures for." That shows his focus was always on the audience, on connecting with ordinary people.
His story is such a powerful reminder that even the most celebrated, iconic figures are, well, human. They have complex lives, contradictions, flaws.
And opinions about them can be incredibly polarized, as we've seen.
I think the key takeaway here is that by acknowledging those contradictions, by looking at the whole picture, the good, the bad, the visionary, the flawed, we actually gain a much richer, more meaningful appreciation.
Both for the artist and for the incredible, enduring art they left behind. Art that continues to resonate with millions around the globe.
It makes you appreciate the magic, perhaps, while understanding the magician a little better.
Well put. And maybe a final thought to leave everyone with.
Yeah.
Given Walt Disney's original grand vision for EPSC, not just a park, but a constantly evolving living community, a prototype city, what do you think he would make of the Epcot theme park we know today?
Ooh, that's a fascinating question to ponder. Thank you for joining us on this exploration today. And hey, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you can stay up to date with all our latest discussions.
Definitely. Lots more to uncover.
Goodbye for now.